recording.
Okay.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you all for giving up part of your evening to join us. My name's Jake McCandless. I'm the superintendent of the Pittsfield Public Schools and a parent in the Pittsfield Public Schools. And we are very grateful to you for taking the time to join us tonight. I'm joined tonight by Joseph Curtis, who is our Deputy Superintendent, and by Howard Marshall, who is our Learning Management System Professional Development Coordinator. Mr. Marshall most recently served as a teacher at Pittsfield High School and spent years before that in our technology department doing exactly this kind of thing and more. So we're very grateful for him for stepping back into that role to help us out during this very challenging time. Now, like most of you, if you would have asked me in January of 2020 what Zoom is and what Canvas is, I'm about 50 years old, so I grew up in the 70s. So to me, Zoom was a TV show that I watched on PBS, along with Sesame Street and some other shows. And Canvas was something you painted on, or what they stretched across the ring for my favorite WWE superstars to wrestle on, or for Muhammad Ali to box on a stretched canvas in a ring. And now here we are in September of 2020, and Zoom and Canvas are the way that we are asking our students to learn and asking our families to help facilitate that learning. And we know that this is very far from ideal. I will admit to you, with my dad hat on and not my superintendent hat, if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you are feeling frightened, if you are feeling not up to this task, I promise you that I join you, and so does my wife. And fortunately, our daughter is a senior, and she assures us that she can handle this, because we are really worried about our own ability to handle this. But like all of you, we're all going to give this our best try, and we're going to do this together. So without further ado, I will hand over to Mr. Marshall, with great thanks to him, great thanks to Deputy Superintendent Curtis, and with tremendous thanks to all of you for taking the time to learn about this new world that we're asking our students to learn in. Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
Thank you, Mr. McCandless. So quick before we start, this, as we said, this is being recorded and will be available later for anyone that can't attend, or if you'd like to watch it at another time. Everyone in the meeting will remain muted except for those presenting. We will attempt to answer questions from the chat at the end of the presentation. The chat is currently closed so as not to distract us, but we will open it up towards the end of the meeting and respond to questions as best we can. Also, our presentation tonight is in English, because that is the only language that I speak to any degree of usefulness. But we will do our best to provide information in Spanish and perhaps other languages on our website as we can. So tonight we're going to start with a quick welcome. We've already heard from Superintendent McCandless. We'll have a short message from Deputy Superintendent Joseph Curtis. I will talk about the purpose, first of all, of Zoom and Canvas. I will give you a quick overview of what Zoom will look like for your student. How will my student access Canvas? I'll walk you through that. I will show you briefly what Canvas will look like for your students. And finally, we'll talk about what your expectations are as a caregiver or someone who is responsible for a student learning remotely.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. You know, we as you may remember, we provided all of our families a survey last June and asked for several pieces of information, but one of them feedback about your experience or your child's experience with remote learning during the closure during the spring of 2020. And we received a large amount of feedback about Google Classroom and the difficulties that children and families had with navigation and understanding what was due, what was being put forth for your child to work with. And we our teachers also found that Google Classroom did not bring enough structure to provide a robust learning experience in a remote model. So long ago, back in July, we read that feedback again, and we had a committee look at several different learning management platforms. And we all came to the decision that Canvas would bring the most amount of consistency and ease of use, not only to teachers, but certainly most importantly, you and your children. So we decided to make that switch back in early July, and then really with a great deal of speed. Usually a new system takes about 6 to 8 weeks to get up and running. And we managed to do it in roughly 2.5 weeks. So we bring this new tool to you along with Zoom, which replaces Google Meet, with every hope that it'll bring a better experience to you and your child. So with that, I'll let Howie take over the presentation, take back the presentation, and we certainly will try to answer all the questions you put forth at the end. Thank you everyone for coming this evening.
Okay, so briefly, both the superintendent and deputy superintendent mentioned the purpose of Zoom and Canvas. They are meant to assist your teachers and students in meeting and providing robust instruction. The instruction that we have been planning over the last couple of weeks is not at all like what you saw in the spring, which we like to call crisis learning or crisis teaching. We have been planning a full and robust curriculum to be delivered as best we can from a distance until we feel that it is possible to come back in some form of in-person learning. So Zoom is a video conferencing software. You are using it right now to participate in this meeting. It will replace Google Meet. So your students were using Google Meets to meet with teachers and other school officials. This will be the new tool for communication from school. It is installed as an app on Chromebooks, and I spoke with the director of technology today who confirmed that we will be pushing it out to all Chromebooks owned by the district. So if you've not seen it yet and you have a school Chromebook, if you open it in the next few days, Zoom should install itself. You should not have to go find it. It is available in the Chrome Web Store if for some reason that does not happen, but it should be done automatically. And as we said, this is not like what you saw in the spring. This fall, our teachers will be providing live instruction to students according to the schedule that we've pushed out on the remote learning website. Canvas, on the other hand, is what we call learning management software. So that replaces Google Classroom, and it facilitates the connection between student and teacher. It is the way that teachers can plan their learning activities, that students will know what needs to be done to meet the requirements of the course. All resources and assignments will be posted there. Grades will now be done primarily through Canvas. That is the way that we will be managing our classrooms from afar. It is a digital classroom. Each class that your student is enrolled in will have a space for information, resources, learning activities, and assignments. We may also be using it for things like clubs, music lessons, and other non-class activities. If your student participates in those, we can also facilitate those connections through Canvas. I just want to give you a quick overview of Zoom so that if you are assisting your student, this is likely what you are looking at right now or something very similar to that. And if I give you a quick tour, in the center here, right now you can see that my screen is being shared in your version. So your student would encounter either the screen of the teacher if they are sharing that, or the person who is speaking if a screen is not being shared will be in the middle. Down in the bottom left corner, you have options to unmute or mute and to start and stop video. In this meeting, you are all muted. In a classroom setting, your students might be able to mute or unmute themselves at certain times to communicate with their teachers, and they may need to start and stop video depending on the activity or situation. There are 3 areas that are focused on the participants in the meeting. So generally at the top of the screen, you will see the most recent participants who have spoken. At the bottom is the button to open the participants window, which opens on the right. And on the right, you can see a list of the people who are in the meeting. Okay. In this particular case, this teacher has turned on some additional features that would allow your students to interact during class time. So they may be able to raise your hand, answer yes or no questions, encourage the teacher to go faster or slower. And then under the more option, there are things like thumbs up, thumbs down, and other options. for them to interact during a meeting in a non-verbal way. Also on the bottom, you have the option to open a chat window. The chat opens below the participants window. Right now it has been disabled for this meeting. We will enable it later. If you want to open it for when that is enabled, you can certainly do that now. But we will enable the chat near the end of the meeting so that we can actually take your questions. That's all for Zoom. Canvas is a little bit more involved, but I will walk you through that process. First of all, as you already saw, we sent home a flyer, a one-pager that's a quick overview of Canvas. It must be accessed via Clever. So your student would log into Clever, which is usually their home page. We use it for accessing a lot of our curriculum materials and other resources posted by the district. And all students will land on what we call the dashboard, which is the main page of Canvas. On the screen, you see that red button. That is what Canvas looks like on Clever. So when your student logs into Clever, that is what they should be looking for. Okay. When they log when they log into Canvas, this is what the dashboard will look like. So on the left, I've highlighted the navigation options. You can see they have an account option, their dashboard, a list of their courses, a calendar of all of their course activities, and an inbox for messaging. They also have an option to seek help options directly from Canvas if they have questions or things that they need to work on or ask about. In the center, they have the tiles. So each course that your student is enrolled in will be on a tile. These are courses provided by Canvas in my sample course, but your students here might see ELA, math, science, any courses that they're enrolled in, including specialists like phys ed or music. They may also, if they receive occupational therapy or speech services, those would also be here as a group. And like I said, eventually we could add in things like student council and extracurricular activities as courses as well. Finally, on the right, we have a to-do list that is updated with students' activities from all of their courses in one place. You can see in this case, I am a teacher on several accounts. And so this is asking me to grade several things that have been turned in. Your student would see assignments that they need to complete in order to meet the requirements of the course. Okay. Once they enter a course, many courses have been customized by teachers, so you will see different options here. Generally, though, on the left, you will see the navigation menus. There may be more or fewer options depending on how the teacher has set up their course. And of course, it will vary greatly at different grade levels. A kindergarten teacher may have many fewer options than, for example, a high school student, which would have perhaps more things to navigate to in order to complete the requirements of the course. But they start on their homepage, and teachers will direct them from that point where they should go to complete assignments. Many students are probably interested in using the mobile student app. I know I've already received several questions about that. Essentially, they need to download the app, and I will warn them to be careful that you're downloading the student app. Canvas has 3. There are separate apps for students, parents, and teachers. So you want to download the student app. You must log in from a computer. The student app will ask you for a login, but we log in through Clever, and so you cannot log in directly as a student through the mobile app. You would log into a computer, and then from the account page on your dashboard, you click on QR for mobile login. That will give you a QR code, and in the mobile app, you press the option to log in with a QR code, scan the code, and the mobile app will stay logged in. Okay. Now, as a parent or a caregiver, here are some things we just wanted to make you aware of. I don't want to say responsibilities, but the things that you should keep in mind. First of all, it would be helpful if you can make sure that your students have access to Canvas and Zoom before school starts on Tuesday. That would be very helpful to avoid those last-minute panics of Zoom has not downloaded or their Canvas login isn't working. It would be very helpful to check on that before Tuesday morning. If you can help students follow their daily class schedules and attend class meetings or view recordings if they're unable to attend during the day, all of that information, again, is provided through Canvas. But if you could just monitor their progress, make sure that they're arriving to class, that they're participating in lessons, and we have more information on our remote learning website about actual class schedules by level. As a parent, you can check Canvas for assignments and learning activities. So just like you would on PowerSchool, you can log in as a parent to Canvas and keep track of what your students have accomplished, what they need to do to meet the requirements of their courses. Of course, your students are learning at a distance, which provides a special challenge for teachers. So if you could help us by reinforcing behavioral expectations, that is greatly appreciated. A teacher can speak to students over camera, but there's very little we can do to influence behavior if they're struggling to meet expectations. And we all know that this situation of learning from home is going to be a challenge both for teachers and students. So the more we can promote positive behavior, the better off we will all be. And finally, please communicate with teachers through Canvas, monitor announcements and messages. Just as before, communication home is one of the most important things and one of the most important factors for student success. As I said, parents do have access to Canvas. In order to do that, you need to have a student access Canvas first, right? So there are two ways that you can get a pairing code in order to identify you as a student's parent or guardian. You can either get that from their classroom teacher, so the classroom teacher can provide them for all students in their course, or if you log into a student account on a computer, you can go to their account and settings, and there's a button that says pair with observer. So parents and guardians are called observers in Canvas. That gives them observer status to the student where they can't, for example, edit assignments or complete work, but they can see everything that's in a course and student grades and whatnot. Okay. Once you have that pairing code, either from the classroom teacher or the student's account, you can go directly to the Pittsfield Canvas website. There's a button to register as a parent, and you can use that pairing code as long as you do it within 7 days. After 7 days, they will expire, and you would need a new code from the student. At that point, you can use the Parent Canvas app to access everything that you need within Canvas and track your students' activity. So this is an important reminder. I know that we've sent this message home, but we just want to make very clear that all students, starting on September 15th, which is Tuesday, will have live instruction. So this is not like the spring where assignments will be posted and students will have time to turn them in and volunteer office hours. We are encouraging all of our students, when possible, to attend live instruction with their teachers. We are also working with teachers to identify ways that we can record and post some parts of instruction daily for parents that are unable to participate in lessons during the day. We are working on that, but that is our hope that lessons, or at least some instructional parts, will be included. Okay, at this point, Mr. Curtis has asked you if you can put questions in the chat. I know there seems to be a problem hearing me. I don't know why that is. I am sitting directly in front of my microphone on my usual computer.
Yeah, and there has been questions already coming in if this will be, a recording of this session will be provided, and the answer is yes. And we'll be putting it on the remote learning website for you to view again, and hopefully the audio is a little stronger. A question related to, will Canvas be used in the virtual academy if you happen to have a student? And the answer is yes, Canvas will be used in the virtual academy. There has been some questions, and they're rolling in as we just released the chat.
Yep.
Howie, there was a question about multiple parents being able to be observers. I believe the answer is yes, but if you can answer that.
Yes, as far as I know, there's not a limit on the number of observers, but I think each one needs a new pairing code. So you'd use a pairing code and then that would expire. You could get another pairing code and give it to another parent, guardian, grandmother, aunt, uncle, whoever would be working with that child.
There's been a question about attendance, and we'll be sending out all families an informational bulletin about attendance and how that will be marked over the weekend. But by law, we do have to take attendance. each day in the elementary schools and each period in the secondary schools. But we would ask your patients, you'll have a bulletin over the weekend that will explain exactly how that will work and how you'll be able to view your child's attendance online through PowerSchool. There was a question about does the Chromebook that is provided have a way to hook up an external monitor? The answer is yes. It is through a USB-C adapter. So they are fairly cheap. If you happen to have a monitor at home already, you can go on Amazon and order an USB-C to HDMI adapter. And that will work just great for you. The children's classes, I believe, Howie, there's questions about that, should be showing now. Is that correct, Howie?
Is that, sorry, what?
Do the children's classes show right now? I believe the answer is yes.
In Canvas, teachers are still working to create courses, so they will not appear in Canvas until they are published. So some teachers have gotten to the point where they're ready to publish those courses. Some others will be finishing up that on Monday, and you may not see them in Canvas yet.
There was a question about the first day of school. Do they sign into Canvas? The answer is yes. And inside of Canvas will be a Zoom link. So let's say their first period class is ELA. They would click that tile, and inside will be a Zoom link. They will click that, and they will see the rest of their class and their teacher. There was a question about if a parent has multiple children, can they have access to all of their children in one screen, if you will, one login? I believe the answer is yes, but could you just explain that?
Yes. Oh. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust my volume here. Is this better? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I switched to a different computer to see if that would help. But yes, once you create your parent account and you link the first student, you can then link additional students to that as well. Using the same method, you would get a different pairing code for that student.
There is a question about a link for the Zoom accounts that were sent out to students. And one parent commented that they tried the link and it says it's expired.
What that usually means is that the link was actually already used successfully. We saw that with teachers where they click the link and they think it did not work. And when they click it again, it says it's expired or unable to work. And usually that means that it actually did work successfully the first time and they should be all set.
We did have a parent asking about how they would report their child as sick. And that guidance will come this weekend in a bulletin that will be texted, emailed, and placed on the remote learning website. There was a question related to does Canvas replace PowerSchool? And grades will now be housed in Canvas and will eventually also show in PowerSchool. Attendance will show in PowerSchool. So you'll be able to access all of your child's assignments and grades right in Canvas or through, I assume, the Canvas mobile app. They will eventually also show in PowerSchool. Attendance will show in PowerSchool.
I just see some questions about accessing Zoom and the courses. I would say some of these questions really depend on the level or the grade level of the student. So at some of the lower grades where the student stays with the same teacher all day, even through multiple subjects and between breaks, they may keep the same Zoom link. In older grades, they'll go back to the Canvas homepage to switch classes and use a new Zoom link to meet with that teacher.
there is different questions about where emails are being directed. And as Howie gave some consult, it's best to use the messaging system inside of Canvas for your child to use that. And that way their child's teacher will have almost instant access to those messages. We do also still use traditional email, but as you can imagine, it's best for your students to use the messaging system in Canvas.
And I believe, depending on your settings, those emails will also, if your notification settings are on, will also go to the child's email address.
There's a question regarding how do they contact their child's teacher with questions? How should they go about that?
Well, if you have access to Canvas, as we said, that's probably the best method of communication. If that's not an option, of course, you can email them directly. But we encourage as much communication as possible to happen through Canvas.
There's some questions again about parent guardian access to their child's Canvas accounts. That will really be up to you to control. So with that feature called Observer, a child could give an observer code out really to anyone they seek to do so with. You know, if there's several parents and caregivers involved, they could give them to all of them. That's really decided by the child or your ability to access your child's account with their credentials and obtain that observer code.
And that's a one-time code. Once you enter the code, you have access to that child for the rest of their schooling.
There was a question related to, not related to Canvas or Zoom, but Chromebooks. Schools have been handing out Chromebooks. The schedule's on the remote learning website. There are a couple of schools still left to do so. But if your school's date has already passed, you're best to email your child's principal, and they have instructions on what to do as far as accommodating you and maybe setting up a individual appointment for you to come pick a Chromebook up if you do not have one. Question related to mouses being used on a Chromebook. Absolutely. There are USB inputs on the side of a Chromebook, and you can hook up any wired mouse or any wireless mouse, excuse me, through Bluetooth. A lot of questions about the Virtual Academy. We do have a full Virtual Academy presentation on the remote learning website. A lot of discussion about, you know, if my child's enrolled in the Virtual Academy, could I then change my mind? The answer is yes. If I haven't enrolled in the Virtual Academy, can I do so at a later date when we turn to hybrid? The answer is yes. But a lot of information about the Virtual Academy, including a video overview on the remote learning website. There's no issue with logging in and out of Canvas throughout the day. Maybe part of the day you're in one location, and the second part of the day you're in another location. That is completely fine to do. All of the schedules for elementary, middle, and high school are posted to the remote learning website. So you can feel free to go to www.pittsfield.net. On the right-hand side, there is a remote learning button, and you will find information about this, about Chromebooks, about your child's schedule, and such. Lots of information, and we're adding to that site almost every hour with new information. Between classes, as Howie was demonstrating, you have to click each tile. So you might have an ELA tile, a math tile. And so once one class is finished, there's a roughly 15-minute, what we're calling tech break in between classes. That'll give your child an opportunity to get a drink or a snack, and then to exit out of one class and go into another. There is still time to receive a Chromebook. Please contact your child's principal via email to arrange a time. There's a question related to obtaining a report card from last year. Again, please contact your child's school via phone to request that. Information about how to obtain access to PowerSchool or questions for that. There is information on the remote learning website, but you can email Karen Shields directly, K-Shields, K-S-I-S-H-I-E-L-D-S, Shields at pittsfield.net. Again, more questions about attendance, and I'm going to defer to the bulletin, the very detailed bulletin that will be sent out, because it really differs by elementary, middle, and high school. There is, some of you, if you just picked up a Chromebook, you're getting a message when trying to access Canvas that the Chromebook doesn't meet the requirements. And if you update the machine, you'll see a little small icon in the right-hand corner, usually a number 1 or a number 2. And if you press that, you click on that little icon and restart the machine, it will automatically update and Canvas then will work completely fine. Howie, you mentioned Clever. That's how their children access Canvas. Could you just give us a quick tutorial or overview on how a student accesses Clever if it doesn't happen to pop up on their Chromebook?
Sure. There's a couple ways. First, if you received our communication about Canvas, the handout the other day, there is a link directly to Clever on there. You can also, if you go to clever.com, you would search for your child's school by name and log in with Google. They would log in with their school Gmail address, which is usually their graduation year, first initial last name at pittsfield.net. And their password should be PPS and their lunch number.
There is a question about Class Dojo. And if they have Class Dojo, do you still need to access Canvas? We're not using Class Dojo, so I will check into that, but every student and parent should be accessing Canvas for all of their information related to assignments, due dates, announcements, Zoom links, and such. So Canvas is our primary platform to deliver all of that information and to drive the video instruction through Zoom each day.
I'm noticing some people saying I might be a little bit behind in the chat, but talking about not seeing classes in Canvas. So I just want to reiterate that the classes may not show up until the teachers are ready to publish them. So if you log in and your dashboard is blank or missing courses, it's because the teachers are not ready to make them public yet. I'm just going to reiterate the request for patience. If you could even imagine what the teachers have done in the last 2 weeks, going from never having seen this program, we installed it in under 3 weeks, which was breakneck speed, and then had to train 550 teachers how to use it. They're going to be working right up to the last minute to make sure their classes are ready for students to see. And so some of them may not be published.
Yeah, so we'll hopefully have, we certainly know it'll be published, and we will ensure that it's published by the close of Monday. So you can access those Monday night and get a quick behind the curtain look on Monday night for Tuesday morning. There's a lot of questions about connectivity concerns, whether it's at home or using a hotspot. The best way, as we're all learning and we're all navigating this together, if you have a connectivity issue at home and for some reason you can't log on, please just message your teacher in Canvas and let them know that. We are all, and we hope everyone else is as well, being incredibly understanding. We know that there will be technology challenges, and we certainly will acknowledge that, but please just message your child's teacher in Canvas if that does happen, and every consideration will be given. The good news about Canvas is that in the very least, all assignments with due dates will be posted. So let's say there is a day you have Spectrum Internet, it's out. You know that a recording of the teacher's instruction will be posted, and the assignments that were due for that class will be posted. And so you'll have complete access to that when your connectivity is restored. And we have some guidelines for you that we'll be posting to the remote learning website related to assignments due and when they're due by level. And that should all be up over the weekend on the remote learning website. Directions on how to access Canvas have been emailed to every student's email account. They have been emailed to every adult's email address on file and texted. And they are on the remote learning website. So there is a, I don't know if you have it, if you could show it quickly, Howie, but there is a one-pager that has been sent to all students, all adults that we have their demographic information on file on how to access Canvas with some clickable links. But if Howie can't manage to show it because he's doing it live, that's fine. But
I'm going to do my best, Mr. Curtis.
It is on the remote learning website for everyone to access.
There we are.
Great. Yes, this page right here will give you step-by-step instructions, some clickable links on how to access Clever. And then if you need to access Canvas directly without going through Clever, you'll see that right there for you. Howie, if you wouldn't mind, if I could just share my screen, maybe we can just show everyone live the remote learning website.
Sure. I don't know that I've enabled that for you. Have I?
Yes, I've got it.
Okay.
Okay. So everyone, the remote learning website is at www.pittsfield.net. And right here, there's a remote learning button. When you click that, this site is specifically for all information related to remote learning. So you can see it that there's some announcements on the front. These are when our Chromebook distributions took place. There's some directions about if a Chromebook needs repair, an FAQ. And then we have information about the virtual academy. And then we're building pages by level. This is the elementary page. This is the elementary schedule. You can click here and see everyone's schedule. Middle, again, we have the parent guardian recordings that have been done recently this past week, the middle school schedule, and then you have the same for high school. Then there is a technology tab that gives you tutorials on Gmail and Chromebooks at home, the Canvas learning platform, and Zoom. So hopefully that, and we're adding information to that literally every hour, as I was saying. But that's the best place to refer back to, and you can certainly bookmark this page for reference whenever you'd like. But we're putting up tutorials and information very frequently. I'm sorry, I lost the, let me just go back, and we'll go back to the chat. There was a comment that there is no Canvas button on a student's Clever screen. We'll look into that. I have, that should be, I have two boys that go to the Pittsfield Public Schools. It is on theirs, but for right now, that tutorial that Howie just showed has the direct link to Canvas, so you can get right in if you need to. Hotspots just arrived today, literally right on the doorstep today. We have to do some configuration, and then we will start contacting families that applied for a hotspot, and we anticipate our bus drivers will be delivering those hotspots to your homes of those have requested. The Zoom will update on your Chromebook before the 15th. You'll see that little update icon in the corner, and you'll just have to restart your machine. Several questions, again, still about the code, obtaining an observer code in Canvas. And this presentation that we'll be providing on the remote learning website will give you directions on how to do that.
Yeah, again, there is some confusion because students log into the mobile app with a code, a QR code from their account. That's different than the pairing code. It's actually a QR code that they scan. The parents must create an account on the website first at pittsfield.instructure.com. They would obtain I believe it's a 6-digit code from their student account to do that, to link the two. And then to access the mobile app, they actually have a login. The parent app does not require a scanned QR code to log in because the parent creates their own email address and password login. Students are logging in using their Canvas or their Clever account through Gmail. And so that's why they can't log in through the app directly. They need to scan the QR code.
And again, those directions are part of this presentation, which we'll be providing to everyone so you can review those and such. There's questions about expectations on Zoom for students, and all teachers will be reviewing those expectations. They're also posted to the remote learning website in our remote version of the student code of conduct. So teachers will be reviewing those expectations during the first week, along with showing students how to navigate Canvas and Zoom. There'll be a lot of student training. And then we will also offer additional parent sessions like this with topics for you to choose from to get a little more down into the details of these platforms with a slightly smaller audience to give some more personal attention to your questions. There's a question related to the hotspots. Hotspots, for those of you who have a hotspot on your cell phone, the hotspots that will be provided are almost identical. So you know that there is a hotspot capacity typically of 10 users, but having 10 people on a hotspot does not work well and will not work well with Zoom video calling. So we are advising that every child that needs one that does not have internet service in their house ask for a hotspot. I think there is a question about printers being added to Chromebooks. If you have a USB printer, it is possible to set up. Wireless is a little more difficult, but if you have a USB cord or adapter, it is possible. There's a parent that commented that they've restarted 3 times and it still hasn't updated. The key is leaving your computer on, the Chromebook on and plugged in and open, and the updates are projected out through the Chrome OS. When it's fully downloaded, you'll see that number icon in the bottom right-hand corner.
Mr. Curtis, I just wanted you answered a question about printers, and that I saw prompted some other questions about printing. And students should not need to print anything. Teachers have been directed that activities should be completed online and that there is no need to print. The only printed materials you have are what you might receive from the school, like some of the workbooks that go along with curriculum that are already printed for you. There should be no need to print anything.
Some questions coming in about times for classes, and that is on the remote learning website for you to refer to. Nicole Rivera, I'm going to ask you to email me privately, and I can answer that question for you. We have an EL coordinator, as you know, and we have developed support schedules individually. So if you could email me, and I can answer that directly. There are some materials, actual physical materials that schools are distributing such as workbooks in the elementary schools, and the times for those materials pickups are on the remote learning website. I think that you'll find there was questions about the workload. I think you'll find the workload will be very manageable. We have designed for there not to be a lot of assignments outside of the school day. And in the secondary schools, each student will have 3 classes a day. They are, the classes are longer, but it is 3 classes a day. And then there is a manageable schedule for elementary school available. Again, the schedule is available on the remote learning website. Remote learning website is www.pittsfield.net, and there's the remote learning button. Now, you know you're always available to email jcurtis@pittsfield.net. If you have a question specific to Canvas or Zoom, you can email Howie at hmarshall@pittsfield.net. And we're certainly happy to either direct your email to the right place or answer it. And please know we are right now receiving literally close to 1,000 emails a day per person. So we're doing our best to get right back to you. This recording will be posted to the remote learning website along with the slide deck presentation for you to access. And I think we have answered a good deal of the questions. Question related to, will all instruction be recorded? The teacher's instruction will be recorded, not the entire class. Students will not be shown or their voices will not be recorded. But the instruction will be recorded for you to refer to at your convenience or your child. Teachers will remain on video for the entire period. Even if a student is completing an assignment, during the period, the teacher will remain on video and accessible the entire period. I think we've answered the questions that apply to most of the people that are on. And again, if you have something specific, please email myself with general questions or specific to Canvas or Zoom to Howie Marshall. And would you mind just saving this chat script so we can add these questions to our FAQ on the remote learning website, Howie?
Yeah, it will export the chat for me, and we can go through those and pull out the questions that we think need to be added.
Right. The remote learning website has an FAQ right on the front page. So we will look through these questions and try to post responses so everyone can view them.
On that note, I would encourage, as Mr. Curtis said, we're getting like 1,000 emails a day. If you have a problem that may be a common issue, so for example, you are not sure how to get a pairing code or create a parent account, something like that, hold off on the email. We will be putting together information on how you can do that. And we will be sending out additional information and tutorials to do that. You don't need individual support to, for example, get the pairing code or log into the mobile app. We will be providing information to help you do that. Tonight was just an overview to introduce these things.
There still a lot of questions about attendance. I'll refer you to that bulletin that will come out. Please know that taking attendance by law is different than subtracting credit from your child's grade because of attendance. And so they are two very different things. And as one of you commented on the chat, we will be very, very understanding. We're all in this together. But we do have to take attendance by law, but we will not be penalizing students if they can't get on. So I would, again, ask for your patience. By Sunday, it'll be text, emailed, called, and posted on the remote learning website. And we'll certainly entertain any questions from there at another one of these meetings. Nicholas, you're in the chat. If you could email me directly, I will email you the Allendale principal. Thank you, everyone. I hope this was helpful. Hopefully it didn't cause more of a headache than you started with. We're in this together. We're going to help you. We're going to offer more of these evenings and be accessible to you. And again, all of this information will be posted to the remote learning website. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, guys.